and Silver. He's gonna sing a song for you now. This one's called Shock Me.
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
before we went live, I was hoping to talk about some stuff, but oh
Okay.
well.
Well, we could talk about it now there. Good evening, everybody. It's our music show there. Arknolia Doctor on my channel, Music Notes on Ark's channel, and Music Maniacs on YR's channel there. And
Yes.
the only YouTube show that not only simulcasts on 3 channels, but also with 3 different titles.
That way you think you got 3 different shows.
Absolutely there. Well, because
Not
I know it's suggested it a couple times here. We could probably have whoever's listening put on all 3 different tabs, each of our channels, and
Hello.
listen to all at the same
hear
time.
me?
See how it sounds.
Yo, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, dude. What's up?
Alright.
All right, there.
Go
And
ahead.
YR, I guess he's from near the Dallas area, if I'm correct. Yeah.
We are in Waco today.
Oh,
So,
right. Oh,
yeah,
yeah. Where the Branch
We're
Davidian
around.
used to be.
Houston, Dallas,
Uh-huh.
different places.
All right, there.
We represent
Yeah, it's
the
about
great
half.
state of Texas.
All right, nice.
And, but did you do anything this weekend, Earl?
Not much. I wasn't. There was
No.
not. No, I didn't do it much either way there. I'm just.
Why
I
didn't you
just-
go out?
Yeah, I wasn't feeling it. Just there was. I wanted to see Front 242 was Saturday night, but the problem was, my work schedule. I wasn't able to get any time off there. You got to plan things about, about a couple weeks ahead of time. And since it was my first week back after the dental issues there, I figured, let's save my next time off for when Judas Priest comes to the White Oak Music Hall. I'm definitely want to check that out there. I'm gonna give me the day off for that event there.
Really?
Yeah, so I would like to definitely check that out. Definitely.
So, I did hear about the Accept. I did hear like more stuff about
Yep.
the Accept concert. Not that concert, but the tour. Like they played in the Whiskey A Go Go,
Mhm.
and people were saying that they sounded fucking amazing, like awesome.
Yep, they
you know what I'm
did.
saying?
Yeah,
Like,
they did.
I mean, it's not the original lead singer, because didn't the original lead singer, wasn't he like had short hair or bald?
Yes, he was a short-haired dude. And
Something
a
like that.
short. He
So I
was a
remember that
short-
music video.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
remember that,
Yeah, I remember Yeah, his name is Uno Dirk Schneider. He was the original frontman for the group, and he was a short dude there. He had he's built like a pro wrestler. Needless to say, the camouflage pants and everything else. And the cool thing about him was that he had this massive, raspy, onslaughting voice. Now the new guy that they got right now, he has a good damn voice that can match Dirk Schneider's. He's a U.S. native, I should tell by the way he spoke to the audience. You could tell there. Now, fortunately, Dirk Schneider and Wolf Hoffman may not be able to work together anymore because Dirk Schneider said he will never work with Wolf ever again for some reason there. Dirk Schneider did leave around 1987. He came back during the 1990s for an album called Objection Overruled. It lasted for a couple of years and then departed again. I guess there was a fallout between those two there. Now, Uno does Balls to the Wall himself in his solo shows there, by the way, there. You could look that on YouTube.
So there is issues with the band, basically.
Well, there was kind of like issues, in the past there. I'm not too sure what those issues were. I'm not that big on Accept there. Most of the times we've been following on are the issues between the members of Rat, or the issues between Megadeth and Metallica, and of course the issues between
Right.
Van Halen, as we spoke about last week there. I mean, when you think about it, there's so many. I mean, you can't not have a band, let alone a posse, without some issues between members. You know, that's common. You know, I remember
Right.
sitting backstage with the local group Sweet Teas after they did one of their shows in the Ritz and Roseville, and two of the members got into it over a set list, for crying out loud. And they were arguing, screaming, and yelling. And they had to close the door, you know, just. And a couple of times it was those kind of yelling and screaming matches that would cause other members to leave, you know?
Did you?
Mm-hmm.
You didn't get any. You didn't get to meet any of the members of Accept, did you?
I was hoping to get a picture with Wolf Hoffman, but he was so much in a rush to get into the car and head back somewhere that I wasn't able to, unfortunately, there, which was a bummer.
Did y'all have? I wonder if they had a paid meet and greet, because a lot of these artists, they do paid meet and greet. Like,
Oh,
you
really?
can't
No, it wasn't really like that, you know. I don't think they had. It was set up like that. I know Front 242 had a. Had a $70 admission where you came with the old VIP, where you're able to hang out with the rest of the band backstage there, you know, because this is one of the legendary industrial bands from the 80s up to the 90s there. Your song Headhunter, you know, Quite Unusual, you know, all those songs there that you still hear at the industrial goth clubs today. They still get played there. They're so highly regarded as one of the fan favorites of that genre.
So we do have some rock news.
That's right, we
of
do.
course.
Yeah.
Look, because there's a lot. There's a lot.
Yeah,
but
there's a lot
we
here,
do
that's for
have-
sure.
Let's start with some small stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to look up on Blabbermouth, Dr. Brown, and practice talking
All right.
some more. Arts Nancy Wilson to sell guitars and other music gear.
Mm.
Interesting article if you want to read that.
Let me look it up right now there. Let me see on Blabbermouth there. Blabbermouth. Give it a while there because I'm doing this on my phone there.
Why our
Wow.
program was featured on Blabbermouth back in May.
Yeah, when you recorded. When you recorded the Dawkins show.
yeah.
Yeah. Props to you, man, for that, man.
Well, I'll tell you what. This weekend I was at the Kiss Van Halen tribute, and it does get tiresome holding your phone. I mean, hold your phone up for 3 minutes and tell me it ain't fucking tiresome. So when you're doing that for multiple songs, blah blah blah. Gene Simmons, the real one.
Yep.
When he does the fire and this tribute, because he did the fire too. All the videos are up on the music channel in the YR Pro. I mean, all the videos are on the music channel, Concert King, vlogs, but some of the hits and some cool shit I put on the main channel. But all the shit I have, I put it on the concert channel. And let me tell you something. This guy really put, Gene Simmons and this tribute guy, they really put, and as you can see in my videos, I went up front, right up front. I'm talking less than a foot away.
All right, there, yeah.
So close that I got lighter fluid on my pants.
Wow, really?
Not lighter fluid, but what's the stuff that you pour on charcoal? What is that? Is it like the
lighter
white
fluid.
bottle?
That's what it's called. It's
Lighter
No, it's
fluid.
charcoal starter.
Oh, okay.
Charcoal starter. Okay, so, and that has a distinctive smell. So when he does the sword, you know, he spits the flame.
The fire breathing gimmick there.
Fire breathing gimmick.
Yeah.
He, you know, it didn't go all over me, but it did, you know, hit the floor right there. All real. I mean, it's real fire. They had the sparkler type pyro.
All right.
And keep in mind, this was in an indoor venue.
Yeah.
And I didn't think he was going to do the fire because
of the
most of these
regulations.
groups. See, the cool thing is a lot of these groups, like I have the most current video. I mean, there's a community of just tribute band YouTubers that record tribute band concerts. There's the community, obviously, of real band concerts, like the real groups,
No.
just their videos. So it's a whole, there's community for everything on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? But it's pretty cool because, like, there'll be people that upload the video of, like, you know, the band I was there at, and I'll find it. You know what I'm saying? Then I'll be like, yeah, you know, I'll comment, you know, oh, I was there that night, great group. But yeah, it's all up there, and
Yep.
I'll tell you something, it was pretty intense.
All
I
right.
mean,
Yeah.
obviously, when you go see any real groups, it'd be a bigger stage, all that, but,
Yeah.
you know. Did you find that article?
Yes, I have about Nancy Wilson. I also got another article from Fulton Bloom about possibly John 5 to replace Mick Mars in Motley Crue next year and the year after. 2023, 2024 there. But I'll get to the Nancy Wilson article here. Now, here's what it has to say here. Now, Heart's Nancy Wilson, late for the damn thing to pop up there, because it got this bullshit here. Come on, come on. It's not live. Oh, here we go. Reverb, the largest online marketplace dedicated to buying and selling new and used and vintage musical instruments, in partnership with Definitive Authentic, announced today that guitarist Nancy Wilson of the Seattle-based band Heart will sell a collection of guitars and other instruments used throughout her career on Reverb. Beginning October 19th, fans can officially shop the official Nancy Wilson of Heart Reverb shop. Its collection of 24 items, including keyboards, amplifiers, and guitars. Now, for nearly 5 decades, Nancy Wilson has been considered one of the most celebrated guitar players, with songs like Barracuda, All I Want to Do Is Make Love to You, What About Love, Crazy on You, Dog and Butterfly, Straight On, all those songs there. Oh yeah, we can't forget Magic Man as well there, all those hit songs from Heart. Now she is passing on the gear that she used along the way. The official Nancy Wilson of the Heart Reverb shop will include a Gibson SG from the 1960s that Wilson says was her guitar choice for live versions of songs like Barracuda.
Wow.
According to Wilson, the
they came out with
they
came out with an album, a live album, Heart.
They did have an album called Greatest Hits Live from 1980. It was a double album. I remember getting that for Christmas that year. It was sides 1 and 2 were the greatest hits, like the ones I just mentioned, other than All I Want to Do Is Make Love to You and What About Love. And side 3 and 4 were live songs recorded from the tour earlier that year, including a cover version of Rock and Roll by Led Zeppelin, which they dedicated to John Bonham, who had passed away prior to this album coming out.
What about love? So they must play that song in your set.
It probably had to now because it was such a big ass hit. And keep in mind, as I mentioned, it's a cover version. The band Toronto did it first in 1983.
Right.
Yeah. Now, according to Wilson, the Bigsby Adored SG was the foundation of her massive 80s style riff during the song, and the guitar became well known by Heart fans as 2 Marine Corps stickers on the back. She says it's travel really.
So it's the.
It's what?
So it's the like an SG copy.
Well,
basically.
I'm not too sure. I know it's a Gibson, no doubt, according to the article here. It has a Bigsby, which is, I guess, a form of a string bending tremolo system there. I know Gretsch guitars have those a lot on their style guitars there.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, real quick, we forgot to mention that about the Eddie Van Halen last episode. Very important because I looked it up.
Yeah.
He invented this thing that you put on the Floyd Rose. It's like this little metal bar, and it's called the D-Tuna.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
He invented that, bro.
Yeah,
And they're on a lot of
it
guitars,
enables you to detune your top E string to a low D. So you can play songs like Unchained, for example. You could tell that the top string was detuned for that track there.
Ark, how do you do it? You tune down all the strings 3 steps or that, or how do you do that?
Say it again.
Hold on, I gotta buy it.
All right.
Gotta buy it.
All right, there. So,
Do you tune down like 3 steps or something? 3 half steps or something like that?
Well, I think E to D's just 1 step or 2 steps.
pretty much, yeah. I think 3 steps is more is when you tune down to an open C, which remember it's like
But what do you do
which
with
the band Carcass did. Go ahead.
What do you do with the high E string?
High E string. Well, usually, there's a note with for some songs you could just detune. Like say if you want to do songs from Master of Reality, which was the old guitars strings were detuned on that album and a few others there. You could probably just detune the top string down to an open D there. I've done that a couple of times there.
Well, there's something called drop D tuning, which is tuning down both the E strings to D.
Yeah.
And Neil Young did that a lot.
Yeah. And let's not forget
Cinnamon Girl.
Yeah, that's right. And let's not forget the band Carcass, out of England there. They would tune the guitars to an open C, so it sound a lot more heavier.
And still, especially on Sweet Judy Blue Eyes, tuned to an open E.
Yep.
And played it that way.
Absolutely there.
Letter Brown, what is your guitar standard right now?
It's a standard tuning right now. The E, A, D, G, B, E. That's how it's usually done. And we also can't forget Robert Fripp's standard tuning, that his own customized. I forgot how the story, how it is on his guitar, but it's tuned. It's definitely tuned. Now, keep in mind the folk guitar that I have here. It's tuned to where you pluck the strings, it sounds like an open E chord. Like it is.
Right.
That's right. That's how you're able to. It's kind of like that's how I'm able to kind of do that lap steel kind of stuff there. Like Gilmore and all these country artists. Like for instance.
Yeah, we should do this. We should do this for like Patreon or like an extra show. Like me and you pull our guitars out.
Yeah, exactly. We did that, but I think I remember.
Cool.
Yeah, we got to do that sometime. Yeah, we got to do that once
do it
more.
Do it better than last time. Last time we didn't have cameras and stuff. Like do it with cameras. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's true.
That
There,
would be cool.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, but people were able to hear. I know Ken gave it. Ken was up and listened a couple of times, and he gave it his definite approval there because he mentioned that we'd be talking and Earl would pull out his guitar a lot of times, which I do obviously there. All right.
No, there's so many people in the community that play a lot play guitar, but just instruments. I guess because there's some bass people.
Yeah.
There's people that play
Jesse
bass,
J, who used to be on Monetize This. When I played my guitar one time, he got his bass out there. Joe Cronin plays drums. He plays guitar a couple times. Even Ken, he played drums for a while there.
He does.
Yeah.
I think he used to be in marching band or something.
I think so. And credit to Joe because. Go ahead.
And Joe too. You're right. Joe plays drums and he plays guitar.
That's right. There. I mean, one time mentioned getting my guitar and doing the guitar duets. Sometime he plays a chord and I play lead along with it there.
So let's look at the notes here.
All right, I got to point this out there. Now I mentioned earlier on that. Go ahead.
Go ahead. We'll go ahead. We'll go ahead.
Okay, because this is really interesting here. All right, here's the whole thing. Now, there's been talk that possibly John Five, who is a member of the Rob Zombies band there, may be replacing Mick Mars of Motley Crue when the crew had continued their tour, not the stadium tour, but their own tour in the next year and the year afterwards. As I mentioned,
They're supposed to
2023.
do it. I think they signed on for European tour
Yeah,
for that stadium tour, or at least it's going to be Crew and Def Leppard for sure,
right there.
because that's what they said. They said like Def Leppard signed and Crew signed for European thing,
Yeah, but
like do some stuff in Europe this year, the next couple years.
that's right there.
You won't be able to see Molly Crew till like 2024, 25 probably. But they did confirm they are going to keep touring for
Yeah,
sure.
that's good there.
They
Yes.
confirmed that. They pretty much confirmed that, and they were like, "No, we're not. We don't make new albums type thing. Like we're not a new album every year type band. We're a touring band. Like
Yeah.
they said that or whatever,
Yeah.
or their camp rather. So
Yeah.
it's
The last record they put out was the Saints of Los Angeles, as that was many years back there.
you didn't like. Did you like that one at all? Or
I
no?
didn't have that album, but I heard a couple of tracks on the radio, and it sounded pretty good there. Very good. Now, of course, we know the reason why that, of course, John 5 may be taking Mick Mars's place, obviously, because Mick Mars's condition. What's it called again?
Right.
I'm trying to find what it's called there. I want blah, blah, blah there. Let me look it up there. But
That's
it's like it's an arthritic condition there. It's basically where...
No, it's like more than that. It's kind of like Jesse's thing, I think. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
It's like really messed up. You can't fix it type deal.
Yeah,
You
no,
know?
it's like arthritis in a way.
Yeah.
Right there. Let me look up here. Mick Mars. What's going on here? Now, this is from sleazeRocks.com. I had to open up a different tab here. John 5 is rumored to replace an aging guitarist Mick Mars and Motley Crue in a couple of future shows there. Now, Father Time catches up to everyone as it appears that this is the case for Mr. Mick Mars, who currently is 71 years old and suffering from the condition known as, let me see
Jesus,
if I
are
can...
you serious?
Yeah, he is. Yep. He's the oldest member of the group there. Remember, he played in he was playing in bands years before he hooked up with the Crew. In fact, I still have a photo of a band he was in called White House. I should probably find it in my
My house. Did y'all see?
White
Have y'all seen
House.
that Dirt movie yet?
No, it's White. No, wait a minute. White Horse. That was the name of it. My bad. All right. I never saw the movie, but we know about the history because this has been told in documentaries and
Well,
TV.
the Dirt movie. The Dirt movie is pretty spot on, like to story.
Yeah.
And you know that movie with Wahlberg,
Yes.
Mark Wahlberg,
Rockstar. Yeah. That was
kind of
inspired.
reminds me of that movie. Like,
Yeah. And by the way, that movie Rockstar was inspired by Tim Ripper Owens, as you know, sang in the Judas
Yeah.
Priest tribute group, and then goes on to sing for the Real Deal. Now, how cool is that? It's like, imagine yourself, you're playing one of your favorite songs by a favorite group. Like, say your favorite is, let's say, you're playing
Van
with,
Halen in his case.
yeah, exactly. Or better yet, how about this?
wait a minute. You go ahead.
Go ahead. Well,
You made a good point.
How about here? Let's say Ark is playing with his band, and they're doing some Creedence Clearwater Revival. And all of a sudden, John Fogerty, Stu Cook.
Hold on a minute. What Tim Ripper Owens songs do you like?
Which songs?
Name any?
Which
Yeah,
song?
do you know any Tim Ripper Owens songs?
Kenny Oakland.
Preach?
I gotta say,
No,
I know. Kenny Oakland.
Tim Owens.
Tim Owens. Yeah, there's with songs with. Yeah, I listened. Yeah, I had the live album, Live '98. There's the song. There's song "Burn in Hell." There's "Bullet Train."
All right.
There's a song called one. I think it's called "One on One." They
I just
released
wanted to
two
test
albums.
your-
Yeah.
I wanted to test your Tim Owens trivia on you.
Yeah, right
Because
there.
obviously he covered a lot of pre stuff, but
Yeah, but the
that's what
difference.
it's gonna be, bro. A lot of these bands are gonna use these tribute bands to
Yeah.
replace them on.
Yeah, exactly. Now, keep in mind, Owens. It's like, let me go back to the situation here that I was talking about.
Yeah, go ahead.
Ark. Suppose you're playing with your
He's
band
not gonna be it.
and you're playing in this tribute night to Creedence Clearwater Revival. And all of a sudden you get a phone call from one of the members of Creedence Clearwater Revival, whether it's Stu Cook, Doug Clifford, or John Fogerty, saying, "Hey, we'd like you to join our band to replace Tom Fogerty." How would you, who, as you know, left CCR earlier on in their career after competing with John for so long there? Apparently he was in the back. He was always in the back there while John got all the glory. How excited would you feel if that happened?
Yeah, it'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
John
It'd be
Five is very
yeah.
John Five is a good guitarist.
He is
everything.
absolutely. I remember. I saw this guy
Big
back.
Kiss guy.
Yeah. Remember, I saw this guy years back when he was in a band called, what was it called? Fucking remember. Oh, shame. What's it called? Peppers. Motherfucker! I had the name. I had the name like for
John Five back
Yeah.
in the '90s.
No, this was in the '80s, man. He was in the band called Pepperland. That was the name of the band. Thank goodness.
Oh yeah.
Pepperland, yes. They played the Ritz and Roseville.
So-
They played at Harpo's. They played at New York, and Warren. And later
So
on, go ahead.
he has a huge. I think it's on Instagram, one of his social medias.
Mm-hmm.
But he has a huge, like, it's record-setting, I think. But it's known that he has a huge collection of Kiss stuff.
Yep.
Like rare Kiss memorabilia.
Yeah.
Like, he's a big Kiss fan. There's a video on YouTube him playing Paul Stanley.
Yeah, I was going to mention that as well.
Saw that? That was cool, right?
It was cool, yeah. Now, whether it's now the situation with Rob Zombie, however, him and Zombie, they stopped following.
They ever had beef?
I don't know, but from what I understand, they stopped following each other on on social media. So there probably something went down there.
Then,
and a guy named whose last name is
used to
Riggs.
Yeah, Riggs. He used to play with him back in the day, but
And now he's back in the fold.
John Five. He used to play with Marilyn Manson.
There's
a famous clip of him punching Manson or something like that. Like
that was on. I remember seeing that as well there. Yeah, that made a lot of news there. Now let's not forget he was also
he explained the backstory to that like maybe a year ago or within the last months on the Eddie Trunk show.
Yep.
He was saying he wasn't really mad at. He was having like a bad day, family death, stuff like that. And Manson kind of pissed him off, but it was, you know what I'm saying? But that's one of the famous clips. But this guy really is good.
He is.
And look, he's famous. He's famous for playing, obviously, as like one's custom made for him, but the Telecaster, the Fender Telecaster guitar. He has ones that light up and all sorts of shit. But go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
Now, let's
Archie said he had some news too.
Yeah, well.
Do what?
What?
What'd you ask?
Archie said he had some news too.
No, I don't have any news.
Well, let's not forget also that John Five also under his real name collaborated with Rob Halford. Remember that 2 project from '98 that came out on Nothing Records, Trent Reznor's record label there?
Yes.
Now, if you could find that somewhere in the CD bin, hold on to it. I don't know if it's still in print or whichever there. It wasn't really received that well there, but
what was the name of it?
It was called Void. It's called 2
Warriors. Yeah, 2 Warriors, right?
Yes, exactly. Voyeurs, correct. That's the name of the album there. Came out in 1998, and it was the same time Rob Halford came out of the closet. Same year that Priest came out with their new singer, the album Jugulator by them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess people presumably that thought that Halper was going to compete with Priest with his coming out announcement, but we all know we kind of figured that for a long time there that he was gay. In fact, remember my old best friend, we were working some job together there. He mentioned, I think Rob Halpert is gay. Well, how do you think that? Because he never mentions and blah blah blah. I already gave the details on that there, on all the descriptions there. And it kind of funny is that record now, that the 2 record there, now maybe getting some recognition now, from what I understand, where I read a couple of new articles there about regarding that album there, along with some other albums there. Now, which I want to get to, right now, the subject, which is the main subject there. Now, YR has also a subject that we like to do tomorrow night. Singers who play instruments, more than one instrument there, kind of like the one-man band, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
And
no, like, well, it could be. Look, like someone like Geddy Lee. He sings and he plays a couple
Keyboard.
different instruments,
That's right
keyboard
there.
and bass.
Dave Grohl,
People like Don Henley,
John,
Dave Grohl, Don Henley,
Yep.
fucking
Paul
Kurt
McCartney.
Cobain. You know what I'm saying? Right. That'll be a
Well,
fun
don't do it
good
now.
show.
Oh no, we're gonna do it tomorrow night
Yeah,
there.
all
We're
right.
just giving a little heads up of what we got tomorrow night on our show there. But you put once in a while a band comes out with an album, that they comes out with an album that's considered a real stinkeroo that doesn't get noticed, and it just doesn't really make any sense. Why this album flopped? Why didn't it chart there? So that's kind of a bum ass deal there when you look at it there. But when you think about it, years on down the line, that album would later become a massive big hit and would find its audience later on down the line. Now, for Black Sabbath, it was 2 records. Born Again, which came out in 1983, with singer Ian Gillan from Deep Purple at the helms. A couple years later, it was 7 Star, which was billed as Black Sabbath featured Tony Iommi. The singer on that was Glenn Hughes. Both those records have reached a cult status, which is a good.
Well, you can add Never Say Die to that one.
Absolutely there, and Technical Ecstasy.
So they had four different lead singers or
Oh,
five?
they had a lot of singers, man. They had Ray Gillan taking over Glenn Hughes. They had Ian Gillan, Ryan James Dio, Ozzy Osbourne, and also we cannot forget the Tony Martin era. They released a few albums with him on the helms, like Headless Cross, Cross Purposes. Now, Headless Cross, that's the one that people say that's one of the most underrated Sabbath records. Came out on IR's Records that year, 1989. Didn't get really that much airplay. Sabbath were in the downtime. Now people are saying that record, kicked massive ass.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
we have breaking news.
What?
Breaking news.
All right.
Apparently, this is bad.
What happened?
Oh my god, ladies and gentlemen, Iron Maidens.
Iron Maidens.
Alright, I'm gonna send you the video.
Mm-hmm.
Iron Maiden's Bruce Dickinson pulled a fan, had an altercation with a fan.
He pulled a fan what?
Let's see.
Bruce Dickinson, what did he do?
Let's see.
All right, there.
Bruce Dickinson of Iron Maiden. I sent you the video.
Mm-hmm.
The incident took place, blah, 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 after the ephemeral backwards. Can you read that? Well, it's an article on Blabbermouth. It's for breaking news.
Okay, let me pull it up to see what we got here. And no, it's in the chat there, you said, right? All right.
Grabbed him by the hand, bring him up on the stage. The fan apparently tried to walk towards the center of the stage.
All right, there.
Oh, shit. A fan went on stage, apparently, and I guess, I don't know, we have to read this article. This is big.
Right there.
Did you want to save it for tomorrow, or read it?
Let me look it up there. Iron Maiden fan on stage. Let me see if it's on there. Let me look it up there because it's not a
Well, I sent you the video.
Okay, physical. Okay, it's on blabbermouths.net. Okay, Bruce Dickinson's Iron Maiden. What am I fucking talking about? Iron Maiden's Bruce Dickinson physically removes fan from his stage in Anaheim, California concert. The video of Bruce Dickinson physically removing a fan from the stage during the band's concert can be seen below. The incident took place September 22nd during the closing song of the show, Aces High, at the Honda Center. After the aforementioned backwards cap-wearing fan made his way onto the left of the stage, he dropped to his right knee and excitedly flashed the Devil's Horns fan gesture at both guitarist Yannick Gears and to Dickinson, neither of whom appeared to be thrilled about that. Bruce then motioned for the fan to come off before grabbing him by his hand, attempting to bring him back to the back of the stage. However, the fan apparently had other ideas and proceeded to walk forward towards the center of the stage where his bassist Steve Harris was standing, which at one point he removed his cap and began furiously headbanging for the entire crowd to see. This prompted a very angry Dickinson to grab him by the back of his shirt and forcibly drag him to the back of the stage where he was escorted off by stage security. Dickinson has a history of publicly admonishing certain fans and security at some of their early shows. There was footage I saw not too long ago where he condemned the guy for smoking weed during their performance in one California show, and Dickinson was not happy about it. He said that Steve Harris hates the smell of weed, because they're anti-drug, as you know that. A couple of their profits from a couple of their 12-inch singles out of the UK went to this organization called Kick the Habit. And you could tell by the title what the purpose of that organization is there.
Right.
In fact, during their performance of 2 Minutes to Midnight, Dickinson went off on some guy for sexually harassing a couple of girls there, right during the song there. He was calling them out right during the middle of the song. And I remember when me and my dad saw them back in 1985, he had to stop the show a couple times because he complained about fans crowding the stage, stepping over one another's dicks, hurting each other just to get close to the band. He did, yeah. A couple of times he was telling everyone to sit down. There's no need to do this. We don't need to do that, because the bands were getting way, and I knew something was up when Dickinson was looking, at the crowd with a not too pleased look on his face. If my dad was here, he could tell you right now what went down there. He could tell you. We both bared witness to it. At one point, some guy didn't want to sit down. Hey, you went out there, you're thirsty? And he threw poured a drink on them or something like that there. And then soon afterwards, they started into Flight of Icarus, and you hear everybody saying out there, sit down, settle down there, throughout the whole song there. This is what the fans as well there. Well, you got to remember, Bruce Dickinson does not tolerate bullshit. Yeah, what again?
That's when you saw him last?
No. This was in Pine Knob, 1985, during the World Slavery Tour with me and my dad.
You saw that one, or
yeah? Yes, I did.
Oh.
Nothing happened when they played the Cynthia Woods Pavilion in 2019. That show went without a hitch. No problems there. Now, Dickinson.
They said they're going to do this. They're going to do this tour, and they're going to do the something before time, or what was that album?
It's somewhere. Well, they did a lot of mini somewhere back in time tours many times, like the Mid Legacy of the Beast, that kind of stuff there. They've done many tours doing their whole shows there, I guess. But I guess they're doing another somewhere back in time tour, if I'm correcting, which is understandable because a lot of their material are still standout classics to this very day there. All right, dear.
Art?
Right?
I'm here.
All right.
And
right.
we need to talk about the superhero show. When are
Yeah,
we gonna do that?
yeah, I was hoping to possibly do it tomorrow, but possibly we could possibly now Ark doesn't stay up all night like we guys do.
Well, and tomorrow I've got dialysis till about 3:30.
Okay. So possibly we could probably do that, for your Patreon if you wish, or we could do it live on our channel or on my channel there.
Well, I was thinking Patreon, and I
Okay.
want to split Batman and Robin.
I know.
Batman and Superman.
Yeah, definitely. He wanted to do an episode on separately on each one as an individual. And the reason and as you know, I came up with that idea when you watch all the footage. And YR, you got to definitely check out the 1930s and 40s movies of Batman, when it was all black and white. You see, the Batmobile they had there back then was not like the Batmobiles we see nowadays.
Well, my favorite Batman, and people will get mad, but I like the one with Mr. Freeze.
Oh, yeah, it's Batman and Robin with George Clooney
Remember
and
that
Crystal
one?
Dow, yes. Arnold Schwarzenegger
I mean,
played him.
not so much the Bat. Like, I'm not, not so much because of the Batman, because all the different characters they had on that one is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, they had different characters in all of them. Penguin. I like that one, the old school Penguin one.
Yep.
But
Which one? Burgess Meredith or
for
Danny DeVito?
Danny DeVito.
Oh, yeah, from Batman Returns.
What year was that one on?
That one came out in 1992. I guess it was supposed to do as successful as the first movie there, but I don't know if
Right.
it did well though, or did even, or flopped. It's not too well, but it would take about a few years before we would have Batman Forever, and then later Batman and Robin. I guess, and yeah,
Right.
yeah. And then we would get the Dark Knight trilogy, and then we would have the Batman. We have the Justice League movies, Batman versus Superman.
Yeah, I don't like all that.
Right,
It gets all confusing.
Right.
And then
Of
they
course,
switch
we
the
got,
characters.
but
All
anyway,
right.
all right. Now, let's get to the main topic of our discussion here. Now, we already mentioned the Black Sabbath, the few Black Sabbath albums that didn't do that well in the charts, let alone on radio airplay. Where There's Never Say Die, Technical Ecstasy, Seventh Star, Born Again. But now those albums, of course, have reached cult status, especially Born Again, because a lot of people, when you go to YouTube comments, they say this album kicked massive ass. This was the loudest that Sabbath had ever done.
Right.
I was one of those guys who agreed. Because when I first bought the cassette back in '83 when it came out, I was listening to it. I was like, man, it's like one of those in-your-face metal records that just grabs you by your throat and throw you around the square circle.
Okay, Technical Ecstasy is the one with Hole in the Sky and Megalomania and all that, right?
No, that's Sabotage. That came out the year before.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
That's my favorite.
Technical Ecstasy had Backstreet Kids, All Moving Parts
Oh,
Stand
yeah,
Still, Dirty Women, and that was recorded in Miami, I understand. And the idea was that Tony Iommi was running. He was basically the captain of the Sab ship, they basically could say there. Everybody else was being too lazy, especially Ozzy. And he was what it was is that he saw the band Queen record while their stuff in the studio. Him and Brian May are still friends to this very day. And I guess he figured, he decided, let's apply some of this with Black Sabbath. And it was basically a step away from the dark doom and gloom, image and style of music that they were doing, because it was Technical Ecstasy and Never Say Die were basically rock, other than doom rock, what they wish they did before there. It was more of a lighter side they took, for those two records there. It was basically to get away from the black magic stigma that dogged them from day one there, when you look at it there.
Right.
And that was one of the first really records I enjoyed from Black Sabbath, next to the first record there. I had that album on 8-track when that still existed.
Well, real quick, what's your favorite Sabbath album?
Well, it's a kind of it's a toss up between the one that I just mentioned, entitled Ecstasy, Born Again, and the first album. Now I also got to throw in Mob Rules as well, because that was a badass of a record when I got it from the nearby Kmart back the year it came out, which was in 1981. So it's kind of,
YR?
I know. YR? Oh, yeah.
I was going to ask what his favorite was, but he's apparently gone.
Oh, yeah, well, I think he's still around. I know that. He did mention it was the album Sabotage. That was the one
Good one.
with Megalomania and Hole in the Sky. One of their most angry records there.
That one's a close second to Volume 4. That one's my favorite.
All right, there, yeah. All right.
I love Wheels of Confusion.
Yeah, it is. Good song there. Love the atmosphere of that track as well there. All right, there. You there, YR? There you are.
I believe the Yellow Submarine album became a lot more popular in the 2000s.
Yeah, because
when
because it came
remember
out.
that Beatles One album came out.
Yeah, the Beatles. Yeah, a lot. Well, the thing with the new version that came out not too long ago, a couple of years back, it was already featured the songs you already know. Whereas the original soundtrack to that flick featured new tracks and some of the music scores as well from the movie there. That's where we got, All Together Now and Hey Bulldog and It's All Too Much. Those are pretty damn good songs. Beatles
You saw that
fan.
movie?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I remember seeing it on cable television and on regular TV as well.
Yeah.
Tripped out movie that was for Shizzle.
Did they do one Help too, or no?
Yes, they did about 4 movies. They did Hard Day's Night, which I saw, Help, which I also saw, and The Yellow Submarine, and the final one, Let It Be. And I did see the Get Back documentary finally during my time off there, and I gotta say that anybody who blames Yoko Ono for the breakup is an idiot. She didn't really do nothing. She basically, she was being respectful. She was with John. She didn't do anything wrong. She didn't fuck anything up there. She was being respectful. And by the way, Linda Eastman, who would later become Linda McCartney, she was there at some of the sessions as well. There, there was no issues with that. Anyway, we got to also address Captain Beefheart, Trout Mass Replica.
Yes.
Yeah, have you ever heard that record? Have you listened to that record on YouTube by chance?
No.
No, definitely. You got to definitely check that out. I've heard a couple of things from that album there. It's like, it is really a tripped out record to listen to there. I'm sure you ever had, Ark, you ever had to listen to that record by chance?
It's been a long time, but yeah, I've listened to it.
Yeah, it's how tripped out is that disc?
It's in the pretty much the Zappa range.
Yeah, exactly. Because Beefheart was associated well with Frank Zappa. Did a couple of stuff together, including a live album called Bongo Fury, which I had in my collection at one point there, which was pretty good.
Do you still have albums from? Do you still have albums from your collection?
They're back in Michigan. I'm trying to. Yeah, it's I only was able to get a few records with me because the rest of the records I had, was in the basement back in Detroit, and they had that smelly basement smell to it there, and I just couldn't. I had to leave them behind with a lot of other shit there. So I'm trying to build up a new collection here, but the thing is, some of the stuff I had in my collection are way out of print, out of date, and I got to go to a bunch of records, new vinyl places. And some of the only vinyl place I know so far was Space City Audio in the Old Town Spring. Now, I also want to get to this one record that came out in 1969. It was a group called the Shaggs. I'm sure, Ark, you heard of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Oh boy. You could wire. Make sure you're high as fuck if you're drunk when you listen to this record. It was an album called Philosophy of the World. And it was three sisters. Dorothy Wiggin on the vocals lead guitar, Betty Wiggin on the rhythm guitar and vocals, and Helen Wiggin on drums. Later, a bass guitar, Rachel Wiggin would later join. And it was this music has been described among the worst of all time, as well as a work of accidental genius. Now, they formed at the insistence of their father, Austin Wiggin, who believed that his mother predicted their rise to fame. For several years, he made the girls practice every day, perform at the Fremont Town Hall. He also paid for the Shaggs to record their album, Philosophy of the World, which was distributed in limited quantities in 1969. It was a local record label. It received no attention. The Shaggs disbanded in 1975 after their father's death. Now, you want to talk about a dictator for a manager slash father. We hear the stories about
What year
Matthew.
was this?
What again? Was he a musician?
What year was this?
This was in 1969. I mean, now we all hear the stories of how Joe Jackson, the Jackson's family was to his sons and daughters. We hear
Ron
that.
Wilson's dad.
Yep, exactly. We also hear.
The Williams.
Yep. You
The
also.
Williams sisters, Sabrina and Venus.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, King Richard. Yeah, I heard about that movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now let's not also.
Wait, hold on, back up. You really saw that Beatles thing?
Yes, but get
Documentary?
back. Get back. Yes, I did.
But you gotta watch The Dirt then. You gotta watch
Okay.
The Dirt movie.
All right. Yeah, I gotta definitely check that
It
out
should be
there.
here next.
Yeah. Now, let's get back. Now we hear about how these father slash managers are bullies and dictators at the time. We hear about Joe Jackson with his siblings there.
Right.
We also hear about Joe Simpson, the manager of and father of Ashley and Jessica Simpson, and how Joe tried to help sabotage Jessica's marriage to that band boy member. I think who he was in, what boy band he was in, I forgot it was, but and we also cannot forget the father of the Cowsills. He was a basket case and a half, for what I understand. Now this guy, here's the thing, the history. This guy was a son of a bitch as well there. Now here's the thing. It was the behest of their father that they were formed. Now Austin Wiggin Jr. worked as a mill hand, and the family was poor. A Fremont local described him as a humorous man who rarely smiled. He was strict and old-fashioned and did not allow his girls to have social lives, no friends, no boyfriends, or attend any concerts. That's what I was reading on the Wikipedia here. Betty would say that they missed everything as she fantasized about getting a car and leaving home. Some accounts indicated that the girls also suffered parental abuse. Helen.
Whose was it? This was what group was this?
The Shaggs. Yeah, look it up on the Wikipedia. I'm
Oh,
reading
that's
some
right.
of it right now. Helen also said that her father was inappropriately intimate with her. Apparently that shit went on a lot of times. Yeah, that's what it says here. When Austin was young, his mother read his palm and made 3 predictions. He would marry a strawberry blonde woman. He would have 2 sons after she had died, and his daughters would form a popular band. When the 2 predictions proved accurate, Austin set about fulfilling the 3rd. He occasionally had the family hold seances in an attempt to communicate with his mother. Dot later said that the sisters thought their father was nuts, obviously, well, of course, but they did not want to do anything to insult their grandmother in his eyes. She said Austin had no interest in music, only created this band to fulfill that prediction. Austin withdrew his daughters from school, bought them instruments, arranged them to play and receive music and vocal lessons. He gave them the name Shaggs after the shag hairstyle there, which was popular around that time there. He designed their schedule and had them practice as a band for hours every day. The sisters had no interest in becoming musicians and did not enjoy the rehearsals. They said that their father was stubborn and could be temperamental. He directed, they obeyed, or did their best. The girls would sometimes go to the lake where their father was out. They arranged their instruments to appear that they had been practicing. Austin also had the girls do daily exercises to help them stay in shape for public appearances. So basically, this guy was a dictator, needless to say there, which a lot of times your parents were like at that time when you think about it there, which probably explains why the hippie movement really got on the full boost there. Dictatorship, blah, 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 control, control, control. We heard that so many times, from hippies from that generation there. Now, the album was not that poor playing. It was terrible playing. The songs didn't really make no sense on that record. But years on down the line, it would gain a new attraction of fans. One of them, Kurt Cobain. A lot of the some of the bands from the 1990s, they would praise to give that album a praise. Even Frank Zappa at one point said that they were better than the Beatles. I know, that's why I still thought. That's why I thought.
Whatever happened to that? Whatever happened to that guy?
What happened to Eggnog?
Whatever happened to him?
Who?
No, Frank Zappa.
Oh,
he died.
He died in 1993 from prostate cancer. Yeah.
Wasn't he a major, obviously artist, but wasn't he like a major, in the producing role as well?
Oh,
producer,
he was. Yeah, he was. He had a couple proteges, Captain Beefheart, who I had mentioned earlier, Wildman Fisher, and he also had a thing
H.P. Lovecraft.
Yep. And also, we cannot forget the GTOs, Girls Together Outrageously, which featured Pamela DeBars, one of the famous groupies around that time there. In fact, her story was inspiration for that movie Almost Famous. You may recall that flick there. All right. Now, I've listened to a couple of tracks of that record, and I'm not a pro musician, but I could say anybody can. I invite you to listen to this record, YR. Tell me what you would think. Probably probably tomorrow evening. I'm sure the whole album is on YouTube. They have the full length record there, but it's kind of odd where a record that you put out years ago tanked miserably would later reach cult status. Now, I'm also speak on behalf of the Rocky Horror. The movie flopped when it first came out, but yet years on down the line, it would gain this massive following.
Bro, hell yeah, they did.
Yes, well,
Dang,
absolutely,
that's a good one,
absolutely. Now, in the case of the Shaggs and Captain Beefheart and a couple others out there, they will find their audience. Now, I mentioned this before. You remember Kevin Federline, the ex-husband of Britney Spears, the user, or they used to call him K-Fed. I personally used to call him K-Fud because he was such a pud whack. He was a user. He wanted to live off. He wanted her money so he could live the high and light and mighty lifestyle. He put out a record called Playing with Fire in 2005. That record tanked miserably. People said that was one of the worst rap records of all time because obviously the guy didn't know rap from shit there. Now, he was doing all these club appearances and all that, trying to prove himself to be a serious artist, but people knew he was a whack job. Now, I may be wrong about this, but I'm thinking maybe years on down the line, people will find this record by chance, spread the word about it, say, hey, this record was a genius, so we just didn't realize it back then. That record,
I don't know if that'll ever happen.
I know, but by chance. But now in this day and age, any shit can happen. I mean, like, geez. If Meatloaf could go to #1 in the 1990s, amidst all the alternative acts out there, who knows? That album by Gregorian Chance could hit #1 the same year. Who can tell? But now, if that by chance, if that happens with Kevin Federline, chances are Kevin Federline can make some good money finally, because that album was copyrighted in his name, which is probably the only smart thing that fool did. You think about it there. Now,
well, he turned out to be the good one though, right?
Well,
wasn't like Britney or
yeah, he was
like
the
with
one.
the kids or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Britney went fucking nuts, and that's where that conservatorship, came about. And speaking of dictator families, dictator daddies watching over their daughter's career, Jamie Spears needs to be added to that list because he was a moron as well. Don't get pregnant. Don't have a boyfriend. Don't perform this routine. Perform this tour there. Put out this record there. Like he was a strict son of a bitch. All right. All right. And shout out to Sean's in my chat here. He's wondering, when will be the night you cover Nirvana? Well, you have to talk to YR, and I never was a big Nirvana fan there.
I don't know about an entire night on them.
Right there.
You mentioned them tonight with the
Shaggs. Yeah. Kurt Cobain was a fan of the Shaggs there. And Sean, he said, I know he's here to support and listen there. We would like to have you on our show sometime soon there. In fact, possibly, if Ark does a wrestling show on this Patreon, we'd like to invite him on there, if you're interested, Sean, there.
That would be a good idea. I've got a couple of ideas I was thinking of doing.
Yeah, absolutely. We got one of these days on your Patreon or on YouTube, we got to do a wrestling show. Just like we want to do a show on Batman and Superman there, possibly. Now, kind of funny is that the album was recorded in one single day, believe it or not. The only record I knew that was done like that style was the first Black Sabbath record. It was 12 hours, virtually live, with a couple of overdubs here and there and there and here.
And one playing one recording session and in one take basically.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, the songs like "Things I Wonder," "My Pal Foot." Now that's a title there, and they were released as an R40. It was released as a single on Fleetwood Records. Shortly hereafter, Hearn and another Fleetwood employee bought the Third World recording studio in Massachusetts, Cronin's home state there. They were enlisted to remix the Shaggs recordings and hire session musicians to re-record some parts. But the attempt was abandoned when the musicians were unable to follow the Shaggs' erratic timing. And that's how obscure this record was. It's like you're trying to bring a professional to play over unprofessional musicians. That's a task and a half. It's like having John 5 come in and replace a guitar player who's affected by arthritis. Needless to say. Or
tone deaf.
Or absolutely. Now, the Shaggs, as I mentioned, disbanded in 1975 after their father's passing. Free at last. Obviously, that was going on in their minds there. Now, another record I want to mention, I reviewed this album on my channel there many months back. Burns Like a Star by Stone Fury. This record, people are now saying that this record was ahead of its time in terms of hard rock, close to heavy metal without the massive heaviness at that time there. You know, it has also introduced us to Lenny Wolf, the singer, who later joined the band Kingdom Come. You know, people saying that that album, Burns Like a Star, is a cult classic now. That album has been reissued on a couple of independent labels there. And there was this one record I remember that came out on a local Michigan-based label called Overture Records that was started by a dude named Larry Santos. It was a project called Glassing's David. It was kind of like a new wave act. You know, I bought that record out of chance because I was friends with Scott Santos, who was Larry Santos' father, and plus they co-owned the record label there. I listened to it, it's like, this is quite different there. I talked to Scott about it, and said they were ahead of their time there, when you look at it there. And now the same thing with the band Seduce that we mentioned on our Metal Maniac show a couple years ago. You remember YR there? They're getting some recognition because their two records, Seduce #1 and Too Much Ain't Enough, had been reissued on a label called Rogue Records there on colored vinyl. And now they're starting to get some recognition out there. Which is
Did
good.
we lose YR?
Wire? Is he there? Oh, wow.
Are you done with the Shaggs?
Yeah, so I'm done with the Shaggs. Do you have any mentions, by a chance, YR?
Why not? Destroyer from Kids?
Well, that record did pretty well there.
Unmasked.
Or better yet, music from The Elder. That record's
that'd
now
be good.
starting to find an audience now, after years after it came out. Critics and fans panded this record all the shit because they were trying to follow the concept of style with Pink Floyd's The Wall when you look at it there. It was a story about this boy who becomes the chosen one to fight this evil enemy known as Mr. Blackwell, summoned by the Order of the Rose. It had an orchestra, it had a male choir singing the chorus of one of their songs, Under the Rose to be exact. It had a song called A World Without Heroes, which in the end of the video, Gene Simmons sheds a tear, which is kind of comical because demons don't cry, as you all know. Fans couldn't really relate to this record. It was like way different. It was like a different departure, and fans just couldn't embrace it. Now, along with Unmasked, that was supposedly Peter's last record with the record, Peter Criss being. He didn't play on that record. Somebody else played on it, whose name I forgot. But the song, one of the lead singles from that record was a song called Shandy. Total pop all to hell. Way pop. And that record failed miserably when you look at it there, when you think about it. It failed bad. I listened to that song Shandy and it's like, huh? But then again, at the time, they were trying to please the little 12-year-olds that are out there that were attending their shows. They have now, but at the same time, it was also abandoning what Kiss was supposed to be, a hard rock band. But then again, you know how record labels and management comes about. When they see a bunch of 12-year-old kids, boys and girls come out to the show, they figure, hey, we got to tone things down to please the kids and their parents. We can't go out singing about Christine 16 or let alone Cold Gin. Yeah. And we all know the content of those songs, obviously.
So,
But here's a good thing. Those kids who attended those Kiss shows back then would later go on to play instruments of their own and put together bands of their own. One of them, Firehouse. Another of them, Sebastian Bach. You know, and you think about a lot of those bands from the 80s there were inspired by Kiss, seeing those Kiss shows when you think about it. So it kind of worked well in a good way on behalf of Kiss. In fact, Garth Brooks, when he met Paul Stanley, Brooks gave Paul Stanley a big hug and a kiss, saying, "You guys were my biggest inspiration."
Wow.
And by the way, Garth Brooks did a great job covering the Peter Criss sang tune "Hard Luck Woman," to be exact. There,
Yeah, it's on the Kiss.
tribute album. "Kiss My Ass" was the name of it. Yep. All right.
What was his rock persona?
Who Garth Brooks?
Yeah, remember what was
He
what was the
a
name again?
Garth Brooks. Garth Brooks. Well, Garth Brooks is a country singer. We all know that.
You've heard of him.
We came out
Come
with
on.
he came out with a rock album or something.
Yeah, he was.
Right.
Yeah,
He had a different name. I can't remember what it was.
Chris Gaines. It was
Yeah.
supposed to be. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. It was supposed to be a movie and other things there along with it. That tanked miserably, by the way. There, I'm sure probably people probably listen to that record now realize, wow, this should have made it big a long time ago. This is some damn good stuff here. So, I guess, as the title says, what man's trash can become another treasure in another generation. It just all depends how the cards are dealt, Iggy Pop, the album Raw Power. People couldn't really get into that record at times, let alone the Stooges. But now the Stooges are being praised for being, influencing on bands like Sonic Youth, other bands here. In fact, the Sex Pistols did a recording covering No Fun by the Stooges there. And come to think about it, when you think about it, the Stooges hailing, which by the way hails from Ann Arbor, Michigan, they were kind of like billed as the next the Doors when you look at the album cover, the way that was all styled there. In fact, Danny Sugarman, who wrote the Doors autobiography.
I can't think of a particular album, but what about the band as a whole, the Ramones?
Oh yeah, a lot of records. Well, the only record I know that really made a big would have to be End of the Century. I had that disc. It came out in 1980. It was produced by the late Phil Spector. It had a big over-the-top sound there, as Phil Spector has been known to do. Now, a lot
of the
Ramones
and the Misfits as well.
Yeah.
Any particular?
Well, we Misfits, weren't that big of a punk band, but when you look how many bands on Band Aid influenced, including Metallica, Guns N' Roses, the Sex Pistols, the same thing. It took how many years for that one Sex Pistols record to go platinum finally? 15 years to be exact. And that record is still cited as one of the greatest punk records of all time. Another record that came out, I got to mention there, that's probably now often getting some recognition. It was a project called The Masked Marauders. One of the songs I heard from that record was called Can't Get No Nookie. And apparently it was supposed to feature Bob Dylan and members of the Rolling Stones. And I'm thinking possibly in time people will discover those Two Doors records without Jim Morrison. They'll say, you know what, this is pretty good shit here when you think about it.
Or James King's album after Joe Walsh went away from him.
Yeah, exactly. That's true there.
Because actually some of them are pretty good.
Yeah. I guess Tommy Boland was the guy who took Walsh's place, if I'm correct.
I think it was Dominic Troiano.
All right, there. I'm getting the names mixed up there. Because, yeah, right. You may be right, because Tommy Boland took over Richie Blackmore's place in Deep Purple. They had that one record called Come Taste the Band.
Come Taste the Band.
Yep. And
there's another one that flopped that was actually pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. It's usually the ones that don't do well that turns out to be the most satisfying when you look at it there. There was another, I got to mention this project called Phenomenon. Now, it was supposed to be a concept album put together by a dude, some Tom Gallery, some music producer. It featured Glenn Hughes, a couple members of Whitesnake, Cozy Powell included there. It was supposed to tell a story. Came out in 1985. Didn't get that much airplay. Hardly, the album flopped, but there was some phenomenal music on that record there. In time, that record will probably reach an audience, or probably get its due process, let alone its due. Right there. All right there. I'm answering my
How
picks.
about hello?
Hello?
It's easier for me. I'm going through like different bands.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going through different bands. So I'll mention a. Well, what about Who Made Who?
From AC/DC? That was actually a soundtrack. There was a movie called Maximum Overdrive that came out there based on the Stephen King story.
What year was that out of?
That came out in 1986.
Okay.
And it featured couple of new tracks, the title cut included there that you mentioned, but it was all consistently a bunch of the AC/DC songs that we already know, like "Shoot the Thrill," "Shook Me All Night Long," "Hell's Bells." We know those songs like the back of our hand. And it did the same thing with the second Iron Man movie as well there. In fact, you look at "Shoot the Thrill" is considered Iron Man's theme song, but it comes in to save the day. They did that for the first Avengers movie there, come to think of it. All right. Got any more picks? Do you have any picks, Ark, that you want to throw in there?
One of the Beach Boys albums, I'm trying to remember which one. Smiley Smile, I think it was. Didn't do real well, but it was actually a pretty good album.
Wow. Yeah. So how was that record? I remember hearing the title many times before there, and I guess, if I understand, that came out of a project that was supposed to be simply called Smile, that Brian Wilson was doing. And I guess some issues came about, if I'm correct, where that project was canned and they decided to do another one, but give it a different title, like Smiley Smile, I guess.
Yeah, and there was another album released about the same time. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head.
Oh, yeah. And around this time, the Beach Boys, had grown their hairline, started looking like hippies there. And they formed their own record label called Brother Records. And the logo of that was a Native American on a horse, if I'm correct there.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of doing like YR. I'm just trying to think of groups and albums that didn't do all that well. Well, actually, yes, after a tremendous success with Close to the Edge, the Yes album.
Yep.
Fragile.
Yep.
Relayer did not do all that, or even better yet, a better example, Tales from Topographic Oceans.
Wow.
Neither one of those did that well.
Oh, yeah. Which is sad because Relayer was a pretty damn good record, especially the Gates of Delirium, that whole piece in general. It was a damn good piece there. It took up all of side one there. And speaking of which, let's not forget the album Drama with the Buggles as they're in their roster there. Trevor Horn and Jeff Downs. They joined the Yes after Wakeman and Anderson left. And that's when we first heard of. And at the same time, Video Killed the Radio Star was a buzz on British radio there.
Right.
And I would love to. One of these days, if I ever ran into DJ Wes Wallace, who is Numbers Friday night resident DJ there, I should probably suggest, hey, you should probably play this album that had Trevor Horn, the Buggles on it, called Drama by Yes. He was like, huh? Ooh, huh? Ooh, huh? I had played something like, probably in the beginning of when they first. If I had the day off that chance, I would get there early, Probably play that before the crowd starts coming in. Probably one of the opening songs that the DJ plays there. That would be most interesting. It'd probably be interesting for to hear everybody to hear. It's like, huh? This is the guy who sang "Video Killed the Radio Star." What is up with that? Yeah. Also, guys, speaking of which, let's talk about one of the bands that Trevor Horn produced it. Frankie Goes to Hollywood.
Not.
You okay?
Sorry.
What the heck?
Yeah, I had something come on suddenly that I wasn't expecting.
Wow. Oh, yeah. I thought it was YR going, at first there.
No, well, I'm trying to stop it, and I'm having a heck of a time.
Oh, okay. That must be your ringtone.
I can't even get to it.
Oh, wow. All right.
Yeah, what's going on?
Wow.
Commercial break, though.
Okay.
Well,
Are you watching the baseball? Or?
No, I'm not. My time. I haven't watched anything in a while there. In fact, me watching the Beatles documentary was the first time I watched TV in God knows how long.
Dang.
Yeah. But going back to Frankie Goes to Hollywood, that album came out in 1984, and people were condemning that left and right. Plus, so many for the way the songs are arranged, everything else. Critics panned it like crazy. Years on down the line, Universal Music gets a hold of the album and they reissue it. And the song "Relax" still gets played a lot of times at Numbers nightclub on Friday nights.
Wasn't that the first music video on MTV, Video Killed the Radio Star?
Yes, it was. Yep, it was.
Do they have music videos? I think they do, like rap stuff.
Yeah, I don't think they called it music videos back then. They called it music clips or promotional videos or what it was there for bands, I guess. I guess that's how it was done. And it was named there at that time.
Well, before MTV, there was at least 3, maybe more, videos that I guess kind of in a way kind of pushed the MTV idea.
Yeah.
The Beatles had 2, Strawberry Fields and Penny Lane.
Yep. Which you got to
check
Michael
out. Nesmith did Elvin Parts.
Yeah, I remember seeing one of the clips. I remember mentioning this, the one with that bodybuilder that looked like Hulk Hogan. I thought it was
I don't even think that's on Elvin Parts.
Oh yeah, I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure myself there. You got to remember, this was a long time ago. And like I said, the bodybuilder, I thought it was Hulk Hogan. It turns out it wasn't. But I think it's on YouTube. Right. You could look at it. I think it's called Cruisin', I think it's called.
That's it.
Booyah.
And it is on YouTube, or was. Right. I assume it still is.
I should be, yeah. I should probably find it sometime there. Yeah. All right there. So, I think that's... anything you want to add, YR, Ark there?
How about, the Iron Maiden one? That
which one?
Peace of Mind?
Oh, that record did incredibly well. That wasn't a tank. I mean, Flight of Icarus was a big hit there. The Trooper was a massive.
Which one for Maiden would be?
Well, there were 2 albums they did with Blaze Bentley, who was their singer after Bruce Dickinson left. The X Factor and Virtual something there.
Why did he leave?
I don't know. I guess he wanted to focus on his family and a solo career, and Blaze Bentley came in for 2 tours and 2 albums there. And maybe then time those 2 records that they did with the guy will finally reach its audience. And keep in mind, at that time, Maiden was at a low point because alternative was the main thing at that time. Metal bands were being pushed aside and laughed at, I mean, like, at that time, 1985, when they had Blaze Bailey as their frontman, they were playing small venues like Harpo's Concert Theater, when you look at it. And now, years later on down the line, with rock and roll coming back big and strong, They're playing all these festivals, multiple bouts of audiences in South America and England, LA, and all that stuff there. I mean, like Iron Maiden fans can rival all the deadheads in the world when you think about it there.
Oh.
Yeah. Remember the gathering at the Goose's Acre near the Cynthia Woods Pavilion Amphitheater when I saw them? Made a couple new friends there on Facebook, yeah. Hung out with a couple guys there, you know, they were playing Maiden tunes left and right there. You know, having drawings, meet and greet Derek Griggs, our artwork designer. You know? But, you know, it's kind of, in fact, you know, they even did, I believe, one of the songs from those two albums from Blaze Bailey on frontman. One of them was called The Klansman. Spelled with a C, by the way, not a K.
Yeah, they do have that one on that list. I've seen it. They play some of the ones from the other.
That's right.
Singer.
All right. All right there. Now, in terms of albums that really didn't get a lot of recognition, I think we also got to throw in the Maiden's first record there. It came out in 1980. You know, I don't know if it really went anywhere, let alone got any attention. But it would take Killers the following year to really get them recognition amongst here in the U.S. And by the way, Killers was the album that introduced us to Adrian Smith on guitar, replacing Dennis Stratton.
Yeah.
And the first record is a pretty damn good record. That's what we heard of Phantom of the Opera, the song Iron Maiden, Charlotte the Harlot, you know, the instrumental Transylvania, as well as, you know, what's that one song? Oh, yeah, Remember Tomorrow. Definitely. Which Metallica covered for a Maiden tribute record, I remember hearing a couple of years back there.
Oh.
Yeah. All right. I think about it. I think we just ran out of let me rephrase that. I think we just came to the end of our list of stuff here, if I'm correct there. Unless anybody has. Go ahead.
Some bands and see if you can think of any. What about the Rolling Stones? Any records that they did that didn't?
Tanked?
Yeah.
I know there was this one record that came out in the early 2000s called A Bigger Bang. I remember seeing that at the nearby Kmart's in Richmond, Michigan. And I do not know if any tracks was played off that record, let alone chart.
Just a real quick question.
Yeah.
Can you guys think of any album you bought that you'd never heard of the band, but you kind of liked the cover and figured, this might be pretty good? And liked it?
Yeah, Phenomena, the one I mentioned earlier there. I like the cover of it. You know, it was an interesting artwork. And, oh, by the way, I got to throw this one. The Future Sound of London. A techno, like, not really, it's kind of like an ambient electronic group out of England, obviously with the name. It had an album called Life Forms. I saw the original European vinyl version of it. I saw I picked up the CD for it. It was a double set. Loved the fuck out of it to this very day. It's one of my few summer albums next to Defenders of the Faith, you know, the album by Fernando Saunders that I mentioned a couple times for Kashmir Dreams, and of course Sgt. Pepper. Love that album. Ark, if you ever see any of the tracks on YouTube, definitely listen to it. You will not be disappointed. Absolutely. I played that album crazy from start to finish. Unbelievable sounds, let alone tracks on that record there. Without a doubt. Give it to Dustin, everybody.
Okay, I was browsing through a record store one day, and I saw an album with a cover that I thought was interesting. It was weird as heck, but I thought it was interesting. Mm-hmm. And it was by a group that had just come out by the name of Kansas.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
And I picked it up and said, you know what? This looks pretty interesting. I think I'll get this. I get it home and I play it, and I'm like,
wow.
Holy crap. This is pretty good.
Yeah. That was the same thing with Born Again. I didn't hear any records. I only heard one track from the on the late night radio there. I figure, let's see what this record sounds
So if
like.
you think about it, Naomi and Geezer, I don't know about the drummer, but they really never stopped playing.
They never did, no.
Even when Ozzy left. Think about it. I mean, nowadays it's a little bit different, but
I guess you could say they had their run.
I can't believe you didn't get to go to that last tour, Brown.
Yeah, I wish I was able to, but at the same time, work scheduling up the job I had at that time, issues back in Michigan here and there, all that stuff there. A lot of things. Like I said, I don't really get out to major concerts that much there. Hopefully, if everything goes well, I'll be you and I will meet up at the Judas Priest show there in H-Town in towards the end of November there.
Did you ever get your slide?
You know what? I should probably do that tomorrow. I know there's a music store. There's a music arts store that's nearby where we live. I should definitely look into that. Definitely. But definitely, like you said, it should probably get me in one of those. All right.
How much they are? About
$3? I think your voice is echoing.
It definitely is.
They are about $20.
What up? I don't know. It's probably, I don't know how it is, because back then, when I first got one back in Michigan, it would cost way less. I think about $3 or $4. I think of how it was at the music store back then. But that was back in the 80s there. This is in the later 2000s, so it probably costs about $15 or $20. I hope not.
$125.
Shit. Huh. That's what my first that's what that one guitar, the Strat copy that I used to have back in Michigan cost originally. I remember the store, Massimino Music. I hope that place is still around. All right, there. I think that's probably it for our show, if I'm mistaken. Unless anybody's got anything else to add as a closer.
No, I mean,
No, I think yeah.
All right, there.
And tomorrow we do the singers who play instruments.
Yeah, definitely there. And more than one instrument to win. There's a few out there we got to mention there. We already gave a couple of previews there. McCartney and Grow. So definitely we'll do that tomorrow night for shizzle there. All right, there. All right, so thank you everybody for watching and listening in and learning as well. And for YR and for Arknolia and myself, you enjoy the rest of your Wednesday evening. We'll see you all tomorrow night, same time, same station. You can have yourselves a good one. Bye-bye.